Okay, the angle grinder, the tool most of us know well. There is two main things that I'm going to be doing to every corded angle grinder I ever own from now on. I've figured that out. And something I'm going to do to every grinder I own from now on. I guess the first thing, simplest. I'm not going to be stuck 8 foot from the nearest outlet. I have, pretty sure this is an old vacuum cable from an old vacuum that tore up. But it's just 4 little screws. This star bits. Your different angle grinders got different sizes, but they have, you can even use a flathead screwdriver and we can take them out. You just take them 4 out, pop your cord out. It's got this piece of thick rubber that slides around your cable and snaps into the back of the angle grinder, so it helps it not bend and break right off. And then just for extra, I put in a spring that came off the end of that, wrapped it all in tape, so if I get in some weird spots and I start pulling and bending on my cable, it's more likely to not just, it's going to flex before it bends and breaks and tries to snap on me, exposing wires and stuff that I don't feel like dealing with. I'm using this to fix stuff, to make it, not to be fixed on it. So do it once and done with. But that helps me out a lot. 20 foot from nearest outlet, I got a lot more range of motion, a lot more stuff I can do, easier than 8 foot. And for the next thing, I'm sure you can tell there's something a little different that not every other angle grinder looks like. Perfect example is right now. Last thing I used this for, I used the wire wheel. So first thing you have to do, if you had a cutting blade on it already, is to take off your cutting blade, which would be that top nut that has to come off. And I just put it there. I take it off, put it there. I can get it put on my wire wheel and go to work. Then whenever I need to get back to cutting, oh shit! One minute. I can take off my wire wheel, grab myself a cutting disc, and I don't know why. Let me know in the comments if y'all do this, if y'all end up using this little thing. But I always be hitting that little back button every time I take this off. I don't know why. It's just a very natural feeling because now that I'm about to put it on, I gotta hold that back button. Now I'm ready. Cut something real quick, put that on there. And then, just for example, say, oh man, you need to hit this with wire wheel real quick. Just a little short thing. Instead of putting this down or putting it in my pocket or whatever someone would normally do, I just take it off. And I've made it habit. It goes right there on this little nut. I don't know why I'm still holding that button on the back side. But tighten it all the way down. And I've never had this ever come off on me. Doing a lot of stuff I've done. I've had this in some crazy spots. But throw on that wire wheel. Hit your little thing there real quick. And you're good to go. And like someone calls you over there. Hey Johnny, come over here. We need you. You go over there, bring your angle grinder. And you end up doing a couple more things than you expected. Then someone comes over here and they pick up your nut and walk off. Or you end up at the end of the day, you don't remember it's there. It got knocked off underneath the table or something like that. And then you can't find your top nut. I don't have that problem. Never will. Got my top nut attached to the angle grinder. As you can see, it's not in the way of any kind of work. Low profile. It's going to be on every grinder I ever use that is mine. And easy to make. I feel like there's a company that probably makes these out there somewhere. But any half-ass decent welder can make one. Oh shit. And they're pretty tight. Like I said, I've never had any issues with it coming off. But the way to make one is you get a stud that, of course, fits inside the angle grinder handle. I mean, I ain't telling you to take the stud out of a angle grinder's handle. I didn't, but you do as you wish. Just make sure you get one that fits. You don't need to be cross-threading or making anything up. You want this thing right here spins at 10,000 RPM. You want to make sure you get something that fits correctly. And you weld it correctly if that's what you're going for. But that's all it is a nut. I don't know if you can even tell, if you can still tell, but there is this flat spots it looks like still from the head of the nut. And all I did was take another size bolt, different threads, of course. I made sure it had threads that lined it up with the top nut. No brainer there. But then I just stuck the bolt to this, welded them together, and that's it. No, I got a rubber O-ring just slid on there. That way, whenever I tighten my top nut down really tight, it goes against this rubber ring, which helps the vibration for it not to come off. And that way, I can get a nice, good little squish, good wrench down on it without actually having to wrench down on it. Do it by hand. But that's all it is. Oh, and of course, you can tell I got some Teflon. It looks like on this. It's been a while since I put it in there. But, yeah, a little bit of Teflon on it. Let me make sure it gets a nice, good, snug fit. You don't want it to be vibrating around or loose either. Well, if you would, give my video a thumbs up, like. Until then, let me show you something that I like. Christmas time is what I like. Yes. Sorry, I got my camera in the bestest of spots. But I got myself a 20-volt cordless. Yes. We don't need that. We don't need these. Ooh, buddy. And more packaging. Get rid of this packaging. Ooh, baby. The infinite hack for the long extension cord. Oh, yes. That's a pretty sweet guard, I say. I say. Huh. Heck yeah, I might actually use that. That way you don't got all that crap coming back at your face. It's one of these that you can twist, can't you? When you hit that, yeah. And then lock in wherever you need it to. And it looks like it comes apart too, so you can take that bottom piece off if you want to. That's pretty cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this extra packaging. Yeah, I know you came off. Okay, let's take off that nut. Yeah, get rid of that packaging there. Oh, I'm not used to that. Okay, well, let me show you how to make sure that doesn't happen to you. What? First thing you're going to do, yeah, these right here close by. Grab your case of random O-rings that you save off of everything. Or at least that's what I do. It's a little too thin. That's a good thickness. That fit on there? Perfect. That's what you want right there, is something that is smaller than the actual threads. You want it actually to fit just on the inside of the threads, because if it's the same size or bigger than the threads, of course, then it's just going to fall off. Holy shit. But there we go. Anyways, you want it to basically screw down onto them threads and not pop off, become part of it. But I'm just going to hold this back button, just make sure it don't twist on me. And you're going to have to stretch this. There we go. And you'll feel like kind of pop down over each of the threads. And then once you get to that bottom thread, just kind of run it down on it. We want it down in there, past that last thread. There we go. Because the threads don't go all the way down. You know, on the bottom part, that's the reason it had to have that lock, because it's now off the threads. But this hole is bigger than the threads. Like, you don't want your rubber O-ring, meaning that it could just pop off the threads. But now that you got that rubber O-ring in there, it's thick enough to catch that bottom one, and it's holding it down on that little piece, so it's always going to lock. It's not going to be coming up off top of that. And well, there we go. Extra little tip there. That's how you make sure you don't lose your bottom nut. Okay. Oh, it's going to be nice. But, as we see, doesn't have anything in them holes. Let's plug them holes with something of ours. Could say I want to do some more wheeling. Take this off. Nope, can't have that. I'll end up losing something. I always do. So what we're going to do about that is we're going to make our own little top nut holder. And of course, first thing we do, find ourselves a bolt that will fit into the threads with a matching thread pattern. Make sure it screws in all the way down. So we screw it in all the way down. Then make sure we have another bolt with the same thread pattern that will match your top nut. Once you know that it's going to thread on that, good. There's your two main pieces we need. Then we're just going to put the top nut, the big bolt on the small bolt. When we get the length that we're going to need, I'm just going to take a magic marker and mark right there. Because see, I don't need all that extra coming off the end. So we get that little piece of stud chopped off. That's the length that we need. It's going to go into our angle grinder. Next, basically do the same thing with the big bolt. Mark how much we need. Make sure you leave yourself a little bit extra. You can always grind some more off later, but don't need all of this big old bolt right now. And actually, before I cut that big bolt down to size, I think it'll be a little bit easier if I have the excess to help me go ahead and fuse the two together. Okay, weld. I'm going to take the small stud that I have, and I'm going to try my best to line it up dead center of the big bolt. I don't need it kicked off to the side or anything like that. I don't want it off-centered. It just needs to be dead center. So when it screws into that, it all lines up together. But once you get done welding it, I'm going to have to let this cool down a little bit. But we're going to clean it up with a wire wheel. Make sure all your threads are nice and cleaned out. Unlike me, I'm going to have to do a little bit more cleaning, but you can put a nut on your bolt to cover the threads or wrap it in a lot of aluminum foil or something like that to help it where spider don't get in there, because you cannot have any BBs in there. Now, once you get it all nice and cleaned up like that, it looks nice and pretty, all the BBs cleaned out of the threads, we screw it in to make sure everything's fitting the way we want it. And this is why it's better to leave a little extra than a little less, because if there's a little less, you ain't trying to weld on a couple extra threads. But as you see, I'm just about like pushing 2 threads extra sticking out than I'd like. I want it to be seated all the way up to next to my weld. So I can easily just take this and grind down 2 extra threads worth of bolts sticking off the bottom. So of course, use all your PPE, do it the safest way you can possible. For me, I'm just gonna do this real quick. And then once we get it ground down, those little extra studs, so we can screw it in and make sure that it goes all the way down to our welds, nice and flush. We don't need any extra stuff sticking out. We want to keep it low profile. There we go. Once we get that down, then we're just gonna cut off the extra of this big bolt we have. Put that nut up there so I can kind of see about where it's going to end off at. Make sure everything's still lining up. Use my good old Sharpie. And I'm just going to mark it where I feel like it needs to be cut off at. Leave yourself a couple of extra threads sticking out past the top nut. You don't want it to just be flush with the top nut. That's just cutting it too close. But about right there, I'm going to mark it and I'm going to cut it. And there you go, cut. And it's still nice and hot. But that should give me enough threads to go through. Grab my top nut. Go ahead and grind this down, get all those little wonky pieces off. But once we got it looking all nice and pretty, edges rounded off, making sure no sharp edges to cut yourself on. That's basically our final result. That's what we're looking for. We'll go ahead, screw it in, make sure everything fits. Make sure we have not a lot of extra threads sticking out, and at least we have enough threads sticking out. Get it nice and tight. Go ahead and take our top nut, and it should just screw right on easily, like that. I love it. And go ahead and take it off. Oh, that's it. We don't want that. See, it's not supposed to unscrew the whole thing. Top nut's just supposed to come off of it. So, best way to fix that, throw a little bit of Teflon on these little small threads. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and spray on our weatherproofing material. I hate when my tools get all rusty, so rust prevention is always key for me. And once you have it weatherproofed, rust-proofed, or rust prevention technique done, I like to use this bright zinc. It's technically not even spray paint. It's just powdered zinc in a spray can horn. So, keep it from rusting. Keep it cleaner than my hand, probably. But we put her on in. And again, once you get her nice and tightened in there, if it does be a little loose or tries to back out on you easily, just throw some Teflon on there. But I hope that helps some of y'all out. I know it definitely has helped me out. And if y'all stuck around this long, I'll go ahead and show you an extra little tip on how you can get to those hard to reach areas when you're cutting and grinding. Okay, say that you're grinding away. I'm just wanting to smooth these off, basically. You get into a position like this, where you're up against a wall. I can hit the side towards us easily, but that side right there, I cannot get the blade behind it. What do? I mean, you can try to flip it around and go backwards and hit the very tips of the back side of the blade right there. That really doesn't do much though. A little trick to do that. And I'm not recommending anyone do this. I'm just for informational purposes only. And not every grinder will have the room, but if yours does, put it on backwards, make sure it's on all the way. But as you see, I still have room. And then, ever so carefully, boom. I don't know if you can see, I can now hit on the back side of that. Sorry, my little nutsair's getting in your way, but it does not get in my way. I love it.